So you're running for Labour leader.
That's right.
You've got 4 nominations for MP so far. One of those is yourself. It's not looking great, is it?
Well, look, clearly, I wish my mum could nominate me as well. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? But I think
not quite in the rules.
No, not quite in the rules. Look, it's hard, and I think some of the things that I'm saying aren't necessarily things which everyone, after a devastating defeat, want to hear. But the reality is, unless we transform ourselves as a party, transform how we organise, transform the culture of our party, stop the tribalism within our party, we won't be able to win in the next 5 years. And I think if you understand that it's democracy that has to be at the heart of everything we do as a party so that we can be the change that we want to see in the rest of the country, then that means some quite radical changes to how we operate. It means that we need to, for example, cooperate with other political parties. We have to embrace proportional representation and radical constitutional reform. These are things that the Labour Party will have to do if it wants any chance of being able to reconnect and work with other parties to be able to win a general election in 5 years' time.
What kind of policies in particular do you think aren't going down so well with your colleagues then?
But I think, look, if you're going to talk about radical democracy, radical constitutional democracy...
What does that mean?
So, for example, reform of the House of Lords, devolution, embracing proportional representation, enabling a constitutional convention so that the public can actually have a say over the kind of state that we live in, the kind of voting system that we have. It's about letting people have real say and real agency over their lives. Now, if you're going to say that for the country, you also have to ensure that you as a party are also walking the walk. And that means things like, for example, allowing local CLPs to decide whether they stand candidates in the general election. These are things like, for example, whether you want Scotland and Wales to have a say over whether they're going to call for a second independence referendum in Scotland, and will they support it? I mean, these are things allowing people and localities to have real say and power.
You talk a lot about party democracy and empowering Conference in particular. Well, one of the things that people at Conference voted for was abolishing private schools. Do you think that should be Labour Party policy?
Yes, I do. I think if you understand that private schools are an engine of inequality and of how they operate, I understand that lots of people out there send their children to private school for a variety of reasons. And there are many schools. There are private schools in my own constituency where I go and talk to the students, and those schools are fantastic. But I would like that standard for every child in this country. It shouldn't just be determined by the fact that you have the money to be able to pay for your child to have that quality of education. It should be available to everyone. And I think that division within our society at such an early age has consequences for the inequality that we have, not just in terms of wealth, but power as well. And I think that's I think it was a very good policy, and I think it's one that could be communicated, perhaps in a better way. But ultimately, yes, I do support it.
On Friday, talking about referendums, democracy, on Friday, you said about the royal family, we can just put the quote on the wall, why not have a referendum in this country on the future of the royal family? We're a democracy. I'd rather see us as citizens than subjects. So would you like to see a referendum on the future of the royal family? So
what you'll see in the manifesto that we've launched today, which camera, this one, Transform to Win, one of the key things we're talking in here is about a constitutional convention. And that would look at things like devolution, House of Lords, the makeup of how we actually vote, proportional representation. And, you know, we live in the 21st century now. And I think that if you're going to allow people a real say over the kind of country they want to live in, it may well be at one of those constitutional conventions that people actually say, we'd like to talk about the entirety of the state. And that could well include the royal family, what size it is, what its function is. I think we've seen this week there's a great love for the royal family in this country, but there's also, I think, some concerns about how it will go forward into the future. And I think giving people real power, real agency, a real say over their lives, if people wanted to have that referendum, then that would be up to them.
How do you vote if there was a referendum? Would you vote for it to be scrapped?
I'd listen to the debate, and I'd like to hear...
What's your personal view?
I'm a Republican. I believe I'm a citizen. Well, I think maybe moderated, maybe changed, but I actually want to be a citizen in this country, not a subject. I want to have real say, real power. I want my community to have real say, real power over its lives. I think it's entirely acceptable. There are people in this life, there are democracies all over the world where they do not have a royal family, but that shouldn't